My name is Lauren, and I'm approaching 21. Currently, I'm deep into finals week at college, where I major in finance. The subject is challenging, but I've always had an affinity for numbers. As I sit surrounded by textbooks and discarded coffee cups in my dorm room, thoughts of my impending birthday swirl in my mind. My family plans to celebrate after my exams, but such occasions don't always bring me joy. Throughout my childhood, I often felt like the outsider. My older sister, Julie, now 26, was consistently the favored one. My parents showered her with attention, while I seemed more like an afterthought. When Julie turned 14, they threw an extravagant party complete with a bouncy castle, magician, and a grand cake. I assumed my celebration would mirror hers. However, when my birthday arrived a few months later, I received only a modest store-bought cake and a pair of socks. Despite my best efforts, I couldn't hold back tears, and my mother's response was merely a pat on the head, telling me not to be so dramatic. That moment solidified my sense of being less significant. Over time, this feeling intensified. Julie received a new phone each year. I inherited hers. She donned designer apparel. I wore hand-me-downs. My high school graduation gift was a bookstore gift card. Hers was a car. Yet, my grandmother stood as the exception, always making me feel valued. Her delight was evident when I shared my decision to study finance. "You've got a good head on your shoulders, Lauren," she assured. "You'll go far." Now, she's spearheading plans for my birthday party and even provided my parents with a substantial sum to ensure it happens. To my astonishment, they accepted her contribution without protest and advised me to focus on my exams. I overheard Julie's complaint. "Why does she get a big party?" she protested. "I could use that money for a trip I've been eyeing." But Grandma wasn't swayed. "Hush, Julie," she replied. "You're already spoiled. Didn't I just give you 10 grand for rent?" Her words promptly silenced Julie. For once, I felt a semblance of satisfaction as the attention shifted to me. But first, I needed to conquer my final exam. As I crammed, it felt like everything hinged on this test. The following day, upon leaving the exam hall, relief washed over me, as if a weight had been lifted. While my classmates excitedly planned their summer internships, vacations, and road trips, my mind was on my birthday. As I headed back to my dorm, my phone buzzed with early birthday messages from college friends, acknowledging that I'd soon leave for home. It felt good to be remembered, even after just a couple of years. Helen, my roommate, greeted me with "Happy almost birthday, Lauren," as I entered our shared room. "Ready for the big family gathering?" Her raised eyebrow met my forced smile. "You don't seem too thrilled. Everything all right?" I flopped onto my bed with a sigh. "It's just family, not exactly the warm and loving type, especially towards me." But I acknowledged, Grandma's a different story. She genuinely seems to care for me. As I packed my bag for home, a strange mix of hope and dread swirled within me. Hope that this birthday would finally be special, and dread that it might all unravel. The bus journey home felt unusually long, with my mind racing over potential scenarios. Would there be decorations? A cake? Genuine smiles upon my arrival? Watching the scenery whiz past the bus window, my heart quickened with every mile. Despite my preparations, I knew one thing for certain. This birthday would be unlike any before, for better or for worse. Upon reaching home, I walked up the driveway, taking a deep breath. The house appeared unchanged, devoid of balloon-filled decorations or anything indicative of a party. Perhaps they had set everything up inside. Clinging to optimism, I opened the front door and announced, "Mom, Dad, I'm home." Silence. An unsettling quiet pervaded the air. Stepping into the house, I couldn't shake a sinking feeling, despite the upcoming birthday celebration. I brushed it aside, considering that perhaps a surprise was in store for me. Dropping my backpack at the entrance, I moved towards the living room. My parents sat on the couch, looking uneasy. Something was amiss. The room lacked any decoration, any hint of a birthday event. "Hey," I greeted them, feeling puzzled. "Where are all the birthday decorations?" My parents exchanged a look that made my stomach churn. My dad spoke first, his voice distant. about that, Lauren. We decided against having the party. I felt disoriented, like I might have misheard.
What?
But Grandma gave you money for it. I protested, interrupting myself. My mom intervened. We gave the money to Julie for her trip. I struggled to comprehend as the words sunk in. You what? My voice was shaky. Julie and her boyfriend flew to Boston a couple of days ago, my mom added nonchalantly, as if it weren't significant. I felt winded as tears stung my eyes. That money was meant for my birthday. Grandma gave it for me, I reminded, trying to hold on to reason. My dad shrugged, avoiding eye contact. Julie needed a vacation. You understand, right? My hands tightened into fists. Understand? No, I don't understand. My birthday party, I invited people. What am I supposed to tell them? My mom casually waved it off. We already called everyone and told them you were struggling with college, so the party was canceled. Anger flared as I stared at them. You lied, making me look pathetic instead of telling the truth. My dad's face hardened. That's enough, Lauren. Stop being so selfish. I let out a bitter laugh. Selfish? How am I the selfish one when it was my party? Just then, the front door opened. My heart leapt, momentarily hoping it was Julie feeling guilty, but instead, it was Grandma. Her sharp gaze swept the room, and something in her expression made my parents uneasy. What's happening here? Where's the party? She demanded. I waited for them to explain, but they hesitated. That's when the dam inside me broke. I turned to Grandma, my anger barely contained. There's no party. They gave the money to Julie for her trip to Boston instead. Her face transformed with fury and disappointment at my parents. Is this true? She demanded, receiving only silence. She turned to me, voice softening. Lauren dear, pack your things. You're coming with me. I didn't need further prompting. I dashed upstairs, hastily packing my backpack while hearing Grandma's low, angry voice confronting my parents. As I descended, she was at the door, waiting. We left without a word exchanged with my parents, tears pouring as we drove away. It wasn't about the party. It was the years of feeling unloved, unwanted, unseen. Grandma patted my hand, her voice reassuring yet strong. Don't you worry, dear. We'll sort this out. You deserve better, and it's time you see what a real celebration is like. We reached her lovely two-story house at the town's edge. She parked and turned to me, determination in her eyes. This might not be the party you expected, Lauren, but we'll celebrate your birthday the right way. Once indoors, Grandma wasted no time, phone to her ear, ordering what sounded like a banquet suitable for an army. Rush delivery, she instructed before ending the call, winking at me. Hope you're hungry. We've got a feast on its way. As we waited, Grandma busied herself in the kitchen, retrieving her finest dishes and silverware while I offered to help. She waved me off. It's your birthday, dear. Just relax. I sat watching her, feeling cared for after so long. Yet, a question weighed on me despite pushing it aside. I finally uttered, Grandma, why? Why don't they love me? She sat down across from me, a profound sadness in her eyes, as if wrestling with something inside her. After a moment of silence, she reached for my hand and sighed. Oh, Lauren, she said softly, I guess it's time you knew the truth. My heart raced. The truth about what? I asked. Grandma took a deep breath, preparing herself, then met my gaze directly and uttered the words that altered everything. Your parents didn't want you to be born. It was as if the wind had been knocked out of me. What? I whispered, feeling like I'd been struck. They thought Julie was enough. Grandma nodded gently but firmly. Yes, but I persuaded them to have you. Your mother had a tough pregnancy, and your birth was complicated. She almost died. Tears welled in my eyes. So it's my fault? I asked. Grandma's response was sharp and certain. Absolutely not, Lauren. These things just happen sometimes. It was never your fault. But despite this, my mother had kept her distance, and my father and Julie had followed her lead. I sat stunned, aware something was always off, but never imagining this truth. Before I could say more, The doorbell rang, signaling our food's arrival. Grandma went to get it while I remained, processing the newfound revelation. It became a birthday to remember, with the following hours a whirlwind. Grandma and I indulged in an absurd feast as she shared stories from her youth, making me laugh despite my heavy heart. As the evening wore on, I found myself relaxing and truly enjoyed my birthday for the first time in years. We finished the last slice of the cake when Grandma's phone rang. She glanced at the screen, then looked at me with a mischievous glint. "It's your sister," she said. "Shall we see what she has to say?" Overcome by curiosity, I nodded. Grandma placed the phone on speaker. Julie's panicked voice rang out. "Grandma, why is my card blocked? What's going on?" Grandma's tone was calm, yet amused. "Hello, Julie. I see you've realized that actions have consequences." "What actions? What do you mean?" Julie's pitch was escalating. "Your behavior and your parents has been appalling," Grandma stated firmly. "Taking money meant for your sister's birthday and using it for yourself was selfish and cruel. I'm profoundly disappointed in you." Silence followed. Then Julie returned with anger. "Oh, come on. Mom and Dad did right giving me that money. Lauren doesn't need a big party. You're just a crazy old woman." "That's quite enough." Grandma's voice was steel. "I've heard all I need to hear." And she hung up. I gaped at her. "Grandma, did you actually block her card?" She nodded with a satisfied smile. "I did, and your parents' accounts too. It's time they learned to stand on their own." As if on cue, the phone began ringing again. This time it was my parents, but Grandma ignored it and turned back to me, completely unfazed. "Now then," she said brightly, as if we hadn't just upended my family's world. "How about planning the rest of your birthday week?" The time with Grandma felt surreal, the antithesis of the nightmare my birthday had been. For once, I felt truly cherished and valued. We shopped, visited museums, and simply relished each other's presence. It was the happiest I had been in ages. Yet all good times eventually conclude. Soon, it was time to return to my dorm and focus on summer classes. As I unpacked in my small dorm room, my phone buzzed. A cascade of missed calls and texts from my parents and Julie appeared. With a sigh, I sat on my bed and began scrolling through them. The first was from my mom. "Lauren, you need to talk to your grandmother immediately. This is unacceptable." My dad's message followed. "We're your parents. You owe us loyalty. Have her unblock our accounts." Julie's were worse. "You little brat is messing up everything for us what you wanted? We're stranded in Boston thanks to you. Fix this now." My hands shook as I read their demands. The nerve, considering all they'd done. I took a deep breath, typed a succinct response. "This is between you and Grandma. I won't get involved. Please don't contact me about this again." I hit send and promptly blocked their numbers. A boundary was crossed, but peace was short-lived. They started calling from other numbers. Different numbers were leaving voicemails brimming with demands, manipulative guilt trips, and insults. One day, I accidentally answered a call. The moment my mother's voice reached me, I regretted it. "Ungrateful little trash," she spat. "I should have never given birth to you. An abortion would have been better." Her words stabbed my heart like a knife. This was the final straw. I disconnected the call and blocked every number they tried on. I curled up on my bed, tears streaming down my face as my mother's harsh words echoed in my mind. Over the following weeks, I found strength in my studies, burying myself in books and assignments to blot out the pain. I called Grandma frequently, as she was the only one who could quell the storm within me. "How are you holding up, dear?" she would ask, her voice always warm and full of concern. I forced a small smile and replied, "I'm okay, Grandma, just focusing on my classes." "That's my girl," she would say, pride evident in her voice. "Remember, you're stronger than you think. Don't let them get to you." Her words were like a soothing balm on my wounded heart. My parents and Julie had shown their true colors, but Grandma had become my steadfast rock, my safe harbor in a stormy sea. It was a fresh autumn day, approximately 3 months after the birthday disaster. I was walking across campus, my mind occupied with thoughts of an impending finance exam, when suddenly someone called my name. My name is Lauren. As I turned, I froze. Jogging towards me, with a $1,000,000 smile, was Adam, my sister Julie's boyfriend. The same Adam who had been with her in Boston was just as handsome as ever, and I couldn't help but notice the way other girls glanced at him as he approached. Before I could react, he pulled me into an embrace. I stood there, stiff and completely baffled. When he finally released me, he was still grinning. "Adam, what are you doing here?" I asked, aware of the curious stares we were gathering. "I was hoping to run into you," he said smoothly. "Can we talk? There's a cafe just off campus." Every instinct told me to decline, but curiosity got the better of me. "Okay, but I can't stay long," I replied hesitantly. In a quiet corner of the cafe, Adam leaned forward, his expression turning serious. "Lauren, I need to tell you something important," he said. Bracing myself, I expected news about my family, but his next words left me utterly shocked. "I want to be with you," he blurted, reaching across the table to take my hand. "I'm going to leave Julie for you." I stared, mouth agape. "Adam, what are you talking about? You're with my sister." He shook his head, eyes locked onto mine. "I've been in love with you for a long time, Lauren. I only dated Julie to be close to you." I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. My thoughts spun. None of it made sense. Adam had never shown interest in me before, barely acknowledging my existence when he was with Julie. Something was off. I decided to play along to see where this was heading. Forcing a shy smile, I said, "Wow, Adam, that's really sweet. I had no idea you felt that way." His face brightened, encouraged by my response. "Really? So, what do you think? Would you give us a chance?" I pretended to ponder, then nodded slowly. "This is a lot to take in. Can I have some time to think? Maybe we can meet again in a week." Adam eagerly agreed. "Of course, take all the time you need. I'll wait for you, Lauren." After he left, I remained at the cafe, sipping my coffee and replaying the conversation in my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that his abrupt declaration of love was somehow linked to Grandma cutting off my family's money. But how, and what was Adam hoping to gain? Just as I stepped out of the cafe, phone buzzing, Julie's name appeared on the screen. With a sigh, I answered. "You traitorous little trash." Julie shrieked through the speaker. "How could you do this to me?" I pulled the phone away, wincing at her yelling. "Julie, what on earth are you talking about? Don't play dumb with me, you homewrecker." My patience snapped. "Shut up and explain what's going on, or I'm hanging up." Silence hung briefly before Julie's voice returned, trembling with fury. "Adam just dumped me. He said he's going to date you instead." "How could you?" It was like a punch to the gut.
"What?"
"Julie, I swear." Julie let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, don't act all innocent," she spat. "I bet you're thrilled about this, aren't you? Well, guess what? He's only after you for Grandma's money."
My head spun.
"Grandma's money? What are you talking about?" "Oh, you don't know?" Julie replied, her voice dripping with resentment. "Well, let me fill you in, little sister. Grandma is cutting Mom, Dad, and me out of her will and giving everything to you." I leaned against a nearby wall, feeling dizzy. "But why would she do that?" I asked. "Because she found out about Mom and Dad's little plan," Julie sneered. "They tried to have her declared mentally unfit so they could take control of her money, but the old bat caught wind of it somehow." I felt sick. "They did what?" "You heard me," Julie said mockingly, "and now we're all cut off except for you, of course, the perfect little princess." The pieces started coming together. So that's why Adam suddenly wants to be with me, because of Grandma's money. "Bingo," Julie taunted. "Give the girl a prize." God, that vile old woman, I hope she... Don't you dare finish that sentence, Julie. My voice was ice cold. I gripped the phone tighter, my anger boiling over. I don't know who's worse, Mom and Dad for trying to steal from Grandma, or Adam for being a gold-digging snake. Julie gasped. "How dare you?" "No, how dare you?" I shot back. "All of you, you're all despicable. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Don't call me again." I hung up, my hand shaking, tears stinging my eyes, a mix of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. How could my own family do this? How could they be so cruel, so greedy? With trembling hands, I dialed Grandma's number. She answered right away, her voice warm and inviting. "Lauren, dear, is everything all right?" I took a deep breath. "Grandma, I just found out about everything. The inheritance, Mom and Dad trying to declare you incompetent. Is it true?" There was a brief pause. Then, to my surprise, Grandma chuckled. "Oh, my dear, I was wondering when you'd hear about all that drama." "Yes, it's true," she said, before telling me the full story, her voice carrying a mix of disappointment and amusement. "You should have seen their faces when the commission showed up at my door. I invited them in for tea, answered all their questions, and even did a few Sudoku puzzles to prove my mind was sharp," Grandma said with a chuckle. I smiled, picturing the scene. "So, what happened next?" I asked. Grandma continued. "Well, they left completely satisfied that I was perfectly fine. Your parents' ridiculous claim was rejected. Of course, after that, I had no choice but to protect my money and you from their greed. I left them the house, but everything else, that's all going to you, my dear." I felt overwhelmed. "Grandma, I don't know what to say." She patted my hand. "You don't have to say anything, Lauren. Just promise me you'll use it wisely. One day, I wanted to take over the company, build on what I've created." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I promise, Grandma. I won't let you down." After that conversation, I threw myself into my studies with more determination than ever. My family, if I could even call them that anymore, became strangers to me. I blocked their numbers, ignored their messages. I wanted nothing to do with them. They had shown their true colors, and I wasn't going to let them hurt me again. A week later, just as he had promised, Adam showed up again. His confident smile faded when he saw the cold look in my eyes. "Lauren," he said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. "Save it, Adam," I snapped. "I know all about your little plan. You and my sister deserve each other. You're both disgusting and greedy." His fake charm vanished instantly. "You're making a big mistake," he sneered. "You're a fool to turn me down." I laughed. "A guy like you? You mean a gold digger with no morals? No thanks, I think I'll pass." His face twisted in anger, but he had nothing left to say. He stormed off, and I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I was finally free, free from the lies, free from the manipulation, free from the constant feeling of being unwanted. Over the next few months, Grandma took me under her wing, teaching me everything about running a business. We spent weekends going through financial reports, discussing strategies, and planning for the future. "You have a good head for business, Lauren," she would say, smiling proudly. "You're going to do great things." For the first time in my life, I felt truly valued, truly loved. The pain of losing my parents and sister was still there, but it was nothing compared to the joy of finally finding my place in the world.